Producers, engineers, and artists, let's all be honest. We've all fallen into the trap. You see a new plugin, you see a new controller, a brand new DAW just came out, and you swear that's the missing piece. You know that feeling you get? It actually has a name. They call it GAS, so Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And today I wanted to just talk about why it doesn't matter what you use and why chasing gear actually holds you back. And also why mastering your craft will beat buying out new toys every time. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the term gas, it's basically just this constant itch for more. If I just had that synth, if I just had that drum machine, then I'd be unstoppable. But what really happens is you get excited for about a week and then you spend more time shopping, then more time comparing, and then more time learning new tools and less time actually making music. And that cycle can kill creativity, trust me. So I actually started with FL Studio and then I would use Pro Tools to record vocals, right? After that, I bought a Mac and discovered Logic Pro, and that was like a complete game changer. Then I dove into Native Instruments and Contact plugins, and that inspired me to purchase a Machine Studio. And was having a blast with the Machine Studio, so I went ahead and grabbed a Complete Control MK2 as well. And then I'd noticed I'd kind of just bounce back and forth between Machine and Logic. So most composition beat stuff in Machine, sampling stuff, and then Logic to get it organized and get it structured. But of course, I looked online and saw all the people I looked up to start using Ableton. And so naturally, I bought Ableton with a Push 3. And now I am right back into Logic. Logic, a MIDI controller, Splice. That's pretty much it. Now, don't get me wrong, they all have their selective strengths. For instance, FL Studio was the first time I really got into drum sequencing, and it did that extremely well. Also, the way FL's layout is, it's pretty easy to drag and drop samples and things over. Machine Studio, I felt, was like the quickest to get started, so you could turn it on. I could just browse through some sounds, maybe a few loops here and there, and within like 5 or 10 minutes, I probably had a skeleton of a beat. But it got a little more difficult when you wanted to add automation and when you really wanted to arrange it. Logic has always kind of been my Swiss Army knife. It's whether it's for beats or whether it's for recording vocals, it's, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use, pretty easy to get into. I will say I wish it did have the same browser aspects as like FL or Ableton, and I wish that things automated a little bit easier. The launch key connected pretty easy to it, but you got some that you have to go and program some of the automation and some of the things that you want to control. Ableton is the master of that. So Ableton, especially with a push, you plug in and go and you have full control over dang near the whole DAW at your fingertips. However, it's not as fast as Machine. It's MIDI stuff. I do like MIDI editing in Logic a little bit better. But for sampling, Ableton is probably the best dealing with samples, whether it's time stretching, chopping, all of that. They all definitely have their strengths and weaknesses, but where I was getting at was sometimes you'll leave something that's 80% of what you want for the 20%. And then you end up with 0% of music. Here's the lesson in that. Every single setup that I had potential. The gear was not the problem. The problem was me not committing to a process and not just mastering one thing deeply. And when you got too many tools and not quite enough know-how to use all of those tools at the maximum capacity, then you get analysis paralysis. Should I make this beat in Ableton or in Logic? Should I use the Machine or the Push? Should I grab a sound from Complete or build something out in Serum? And by the time you figure all that out, you've lost the flow. And most of the times you lost the idea you had in the first place for the song. The truth is that nobody really wants to talk about is that limitations breed creativity. We've seen the footage, like some of the greatest albums ever made used way fewer tools than what we have today. They didn't have endless options, they just mastered what they had at the time. Here's the real truth. No one, not a client, not a fan, has ever asked me, what DAW did you use for that? What controller did you use for that? Where did you grab that sample from, or did you make it from scratch? Oh, you use Logic plugins for that. I can tell, because if it was Waves, it would sound like this, and if it was FabFilter, it would do. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a. The only thing they care about is the music and how it makes them feel. If you pick one DAW, FL, Logic, Ableton, whatever, and master it inside and out, you will be far more dangerous than someone who owns everything but can't finish a track. Mastery always beats gear. And honestly, if you give like Metro Boomin or Phineas or Tyler the Creator just GarageBand and stock sounds, they could cook something fire with it, because the gift is them and their level of competence and skill set, not their tools. Their tools do not do the heavy lifting, they are the weight. So how do you break free from gas? Well, what's been working for me personally is to just commit to one DAW and stick with it. Also, you have to set limitations. So challenge yourself to make like a beat with just only stock sounds. You'll be surprised how creative you can get real quick. And invest in yourself, not just the gear. Like instead of another synth, maybe buy a course or practice piano or study arrangement. That is what levels you up. Remember, the tools are just going to be the tools. They only shine when you put in the work. So key takeaway, it doesn't matter if you're in FL, Ableton, Machine, even GarageBand. What matters is you mastering the setup. Getting past all the distractions, all the noise, and focusing on the signal, which is the music. Literally. Don't get caught up in the gas trap and the newest software updates that this new device has or this. Just the real flex isn't the gear, it's releasing bangers consistently. So what would you say is your ride or die DAW? If you were stuck on an island, you could have one piece of hardware and one DAW. What would it be? Leave a comment, let me know. And of course, just dropping a little plug here. If you need any beats, mixing, mastering, or songwriting, just hit up my website, wardellwilson.com. But stay focused, stay creative, and just master your craft. As always, thank you guys for watching. Till next time, peace.